All right, well, I'm glad you're here. I'm going to ask the choir to take a seat. And every Sunday morning, we have started off. I'll be glad when all the people who are missing get better and not sick. What do y'all think? How many of you know somebody's sick? How many of you wish you wasn't sick? Because I'm like, wait a minute, if you're sick, you sit on that back corner back there and in the quarantine zone. But so I need Ryan and Kay. There they are. And so this ought to be funny to watch. So what we've been doing is every week, we've been on this series, Man versus Wife, the Marriage Challenge. And we've been challenging husbands and wives into a competition with each other, because I think that's the only way life should be, is a competition between each other. I always win. I don't feel, as a pastor, there should have been a lot more enthusiasm about that. Maybe I need to change what I'm going to preach this morning. Anyway, so here's what we're going to do. I'm not going to put the Jeopardy clock up on you today. I'm going to give you a little more time in 30 seconds. I want you to unwrap and unbox what's inside, and you're going to have to figure out the whole purpose of why you're doing it, okay? It's going to be self-explanatory. But the first person who wins, gets it done, will be the champion. And the choir will sing to you tonight, "We are the champion." No, I'm just kidding, okay? All right, so are y'all ready? Are you ready? Should she get a head start? You taking the wrapping paper off, opening the box, and going from there? I don't think she should get a head start, do you? Act like because they're pregnant, they get all these special attention. All right. So, before I go any farther, next week's the last week, and I need 2 volunteers for next week. It involves Nerf guns. Who's interested? You got to be adults, though. I need 2 adults that's interested. And by the way, any toys that we use, the kids get to keep, and you get to keep. I'm gonna start. All right, I will pick somebody by the end of service. I think Chris and Amber would be a great group. Somebody volunteered. Then what do y'all think? Everybody say yeah. Woo! All right, so that means next Sunday you got to be here, because you're going to be involved. All right, I like it. All right, here we go. On the count of 3, I want you to attack these boxes. You ready? 1, 2, 2.5, 3. Don't hurt the babies. That's a good man. He holds the baby while he does it. Oh, is it getting explanatory? I believe it's explaining itself now. What do y'all think? All right. I mean, Ryan, you are losing. Put the baby on the floor. It's fake. He's treated like it's a real baby. Yeah. Okay. Here, y'all want me to help her?
Yeah, that's not fair.
I can't do it either. Ah, look at her go. Mama bear. Oh, wait a minute. Come on, Kay, you lose it, Kay. Don't lose. Don't lose, Kay. Don't lose. I'm not helping. I helped already, see? She can do it. She can do it. Bam, says you didn't need my help. Yeah, do you know what you're doing? Are you sure? Are you sure? Oh, we're getting there, we're getting there, we're getting there. This baby here is being compressed to death. All right, whoever gets it done, pick it up and say, "I'm done." Oh, all right, they did a good job, didn't they?
Did you flip yours over and still be in there?
Yeah. All right, so these are y'all's car seats. Yep. Enjoy them. Yep. Yep, guys. Thanks for playing. And I hope you enjoyed it. You're welcome. I will get the trash. And so, by the way, see, you always get to keep what we give away. That makes it even more fun, doesn't it? And so, anyway, let's stand together all over the house this morning. We're going to worship a little bit in song. We'll get the mess cleaned up after a while. And so I need the ladies to step down and help me a little bit this morning. And I want you to stand and worship with us this morning. Wednesday night, we had an awesome time together. And the Lord really met with us. We worshiped through song. And we want to worship again this morning through song. The Lord will allow. So you sing this song with us. God is so good. want to do something a little bit different this morning. I want us to bow our heads just for a moment, close our eyes. And I know Brother Desi's going to go ahead and start playing Bless the Lord, Oh My Soul. I understand this morning that we are all going through some things and we are all struggling. Something in life has got us on the downside a little bit. Those are sick, some are afflicted in body, some are just struggling spiritually with some things. And so what I want to do is pray for it this morning before we get any farther. We've met the last 2 days, and we prayed over pews and seats and choir chairs and nurseries and classes. We've been praying for people who have needs, praying for the church as a whole, praying for God's presence. And so this morning, before we go any farther, before we sing, if you've got a need on your heart and you want us to pray about it, I want to pray about it this morning. You don't have to tell us. You don't have to look at your neighbor. You just put your hand up, put it right back down, and let us pray for that need in your life. I see some hands. I see hands all over the building. You don't have to tell us. See, God knows what we have need of before we ever ask Him. God knows what's down deep in our heart. If you've got a request this morning at the end of service, you want to write it down, we'll pray about it. Our pastoral staff will pray about it. Our leaders will pray about it. If you're watching this morning, you want to drop in the comments, we'll pray about it today. But we want to pray to help you. We want to pray to encourage you. We want to pray for your walk to grow closer to Jesus Christ. And if you don't know Him, we want you to know Him in the free pardon of sin. And we want you to know Him in that unbridled fellowship and relationship of being one of His children. So we're going to pray, and then we're going to sing, Bless the Lord, O my soul. I'm glad the psalmist said, all that was in me, I could bless His holy name. See, the Lord's worthy to be blessed today. The Lord's worthy to be called upon, and the Lord is worthy to be made much of this morning. Father, we love You today. We thank You for allowing us to call upon the name of Christ, the name that's above every other name. I pray today for every hand that was raised. I pray for those in our church that are sick and afflicted in body. I pray for those that are struggling emotionally, spiritually, those that struggle physically. God, You know the needs of every hand that was raised and those that didn't raise their hand that still know they have needs. God, I'm glad You know the deep recesses of our heart. I'm glad You know exactly how we are, how we're framed, and how we're made because You are the one who made us just like we are. I'm glad that we can be accepted in You. I'm glad we can find peace in You and hope and strength and comfort in these days. Bless now every individual. Bless this service. May it honor and magnify Your name. In Jesus' name. Amen. Let's sing together. Bless the Lord, oh my soul. Bless the Lord, oh my soul. Oh my soul. Worship His holy name. Sing like never before. Oh my soul, I worship Your holy name. The sun comes up, it's a new day.
worship your holy name. Yes, I worship your holy name. Lord, I worship your holy name.
You be seated this morning. The choir's going to sing a couple of songs for you. We'll start with Awesome this morning.
From
Amen. Stand with us this morning. I'm glad fear's a liar and fear doesn't run my life. There was a time fear used to run my life. I was afraid of everything. I was afraid of relationships. I was afraid of individuals. And there was a time in my Christian life when fear robbed me of all my joy, all my happiness, and sometimes my sanity. But I figured out one day I didn't need to be afraid because I knew Christ. And Christ would make all the difference in my life as long as I would let Him be the light in my life. Let's sing together this morning, The Dearest Friend I Ever Had. That first verse in that chorus, the choir will come down, and then you shake your neighbor's hand in fellowship. I was drifting out of sin. I had no peace, no joy within, but Jesus came and made me glad. The dearest friend I ever had, He saved my soul, bless His name. I'll never forget the day He came. He makes me glad when I am sad. The dearest friend I ever had. Turn around, greet your neighbor, tell them you're glad to worship with them this morning in the Lord's house. As you find your way back to your seat this morning, we're going to sing these next couple of verses together. Let's really sing. Let's worship together. Honor the Lord.
When Jesus comes, the way is bright. The way, the truth, the light. He cheers me on when I am sad. The dearest friend I ever had. He saved my soul, bless His name. I'll never forget the day He came. He makes me glad when I am sad. The dearest friend I ever had. Oh, sinner, come to Jesus now, and at His feet just humbly bow. He'll save your soul and make you glad. The dearest friend you'll ever have. He saved my soul, bless His name. I'll never forget the day He came. He makes me glad when I am sad. The dearest friend I ever had.
Amen. You remain standing. We're going to receive our offering this morning. You give as God's blessed you this week, and God's going to bless you for your giving. And we believe in obedience giving today. So we just trust the Lord with what He does, how He's going to do it. And God always meets the need. And for that, we're thankful. We're going to sing an old hymn. Many of you know it. It's timeless. It's not a classic. Classics fade. Something that's timeless, Brother Desi, lasts forever. And I'm a firm believer when we get to heaven, Brother man, I think the first song we'll probably sing is Amazing Grace, how sweet the sound that saved an old wretch like me. And I don't really know what heaven's going to be like outside of what I've read. But outside of what I have read, it makes me want to go. Amen. That was weak. I'm glad I'm going. I said what I have read makes me want to go. Amen. I don't know what it'll be like to see Jesus for the first time. But I promise you this, it'll be worth every mile of my trip. Right. Seeing Him will be worth every heartache. Seeing Him will be worth every trial. Seeing Him will be worth every disappointment. Seeing Him will be worth every fractured relationship. Just seeing Him makes everything worthwhile. Let's sing together this morning. These young men are going to help you with that offering. Let's sing Amazing Grace.
Sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. I once was lost, but now I'm found. Was blind, but now I see. 'Twas grace that taught my heart to fear, and grace my fears relieved. How precious did that grace appear the hour I first believed. When we've been there 10,000 years, bright shining as the sun, we've no less days to sing God's praise than when we first begun.
Father, we love you today. We thank you for our time together. We thank you for all the music that's been sung this morning to magnify the name of Christ. And we pray for the remainder of this service that you would have your will, have your way, be in the message, the special singing, and all that will be done today. In Jesus' name, amen.
The Lord is not too busy that He can reach down and mend a broken heart. And my burden is not too heavy that He can hear a plea of faith. God still answers prayer. God still answers prayer. In His time He'll work a miracle. He will never fail. Satan has lost the battle when to the Lord you humbly bow. God still answers prayer. If you feel that life is hopeless and the night has no end, there's hope for your hurting heart. For He'll be there with you no matter what you're going through. God still answers prayer. God still answers prayer. In His time He'll work a miracle. He will never fail. Satan has lost the battle when to the Lord you humbly bow. God still answers prayer. In His time He'll work a miracle. He will never fail. Satan has lost the battle when to the Lord you humbly bow. God still answers prayer. Satan has lost the battle when to the Lord you humbly bow. God still answers prayer. If you feel that life is hopeless and the night has no end, there's hope for your hurting heart. For He'll be there with you no matter what you're going through. God still answers prayer. God still answers prayer. In His time He'll work a miracle. He will never fail. Satan has lost the battle when to the Lord you humbly bow. God still answers prayer. Satan has lost the battle when to the Lord you humbly bow. God still answers prayer.
So, before we go any farther this morning, if you need to do a little business with the Lord, you do that. And we're going to give you some time to pray before we go any farther. Just bow your head, close your eyes just a minute. Sometimes it bothers people when everybody's kind of looking around. They don't feel too nervous to move. And we want to give you that freedom this morning. I'm glad the Lord does answer prayer. That's what makes Him unique. That's what makes Him greater than any other God, is that He's able to answer your prayers. He's able to do more than you could ask or think because it's done through Jesus Christ. And we understand and know that if we don't ask it, we won't get it. So you can't blame anybody but yourself if you don't ask God for it. Well, what if I ask and He says no? Well, what if you didn't ask and He would have said yeah? You can't live your whole life based on what ifs. If you live based on what ifs, you'll never accomplish anything. If you live the Christian life based on what if, you'll never get anything out of it. You've got to live on a determination that God will do exactly what He said He'd do, more than He said He would do, always said what He'd do. Or you can live wondering if God's able to do what you've heard everybody else talk about in life. Father, as we come to you again, we thank you for your grace. We thank you for how you've touched hearts this morning and moved on people. Pray they found some help, found some solace this morning. We're going to trust you for what you're going to do for the remainder of our service this morning. In Jesus' name, amen. All right, take your Bible, turn to 1 Corinthians chapter number 13 this morning. 1 Corinthians chapter number 13. Now, I am starting this message today, What's Love Got to Do with It? Some of the sick folk and the rest of them didn't want to hear what love had to do with it. So let me go ahead and get it out of the way for you. Love has nothing to do with it. And but being the cool guy that I am, I brought along some samples of songs, love songs, that I thought would help you this morning and encourage you. We're going to play them one at a time as you're finding your place. So Brother Tim, if you'll unmute that channel, put a little volume on it. We want everybody to be able to hear this first singer. And before we go any farther, now listen, our whole society is wrapped up in music, isn't it? Right? Because you know why? People are musical creatures. We like music. We like the tone. We like the beat. And some people are so romantic, they even like the words. Wait a minute. Wait. They jumping the gun on me now. Some of them are so romantic that they like the words. And so we're going to look at 3 songs this morning that people would say, some of you are going to say, I have no idea who they are. Some of you are going to say, I have no idea, I've never heard this. And some of you are going to be in just hog heaven. And here in just a minute. So, all right, let me be quiet, and you guys give me the first one. Somebody, I know some of y'all know exactly what that is. All right, so how many of you know exactly who that was? How many of you know he's a food group all in himself? That is Meatloaf. I would do anything for love, but I won't do that. You ever said you would do anything for love, but with the exception? Have you ever been in a place you desired to be loved so much, but somebody had to meet something before you could accept their love? We've all been there. We'll get to it in a minute. All right, give me the second one. All right, so how many of you have heard that one before? How many of you know, this is the $64 winner question, how many of you know who sung it first, Dolly or Whitney Houston? Dolly did. You know who she sang it to first? Porter Wagner. On the Porter Wagner Show, 1974, she's sitting on an old wooden stool. Dolly had that beehive hairdo. And she, All right, so we've all heard that at least some point. You've either heard Dolly sing it, which in preacher's opinion is the better version, or you've heard Whitney Houston sing it. Dolly's still alive, by the way. She's not dead. And Dolly's in the prime of her career, and preacher is a Dolly Parton fan. And so that comes in our family. We love Dolly. So then lastly, now this one takes the cake. Because when you hear it, you're going to know exactly who it is. All right, so we understand and know what's love got to do with it. All right, if you've been alive 15 minutes, you heard old Tina, she's dead, by the way, sing that song. But now, if you'd go back to the very beginning of the song, the lyrics, how many of you know the lyrics to what's love got to do with it? Anybody know it? Talks about a attraction, boy meets girl, your touch of my hand makes my pulse react. Y'all. Now listen to what I'm saying. The touch of your hand makes my pulse react. What's love got to do with it? Absolutely nothing. 90% of the time, love has absolutely nothing to do with your relationship because you've not been together long enough to learn how to love each other. Love is an emotion that is grown over time, not seconds. And we learn to love as we have seen others love. How we see the world's definition of love, Brother John, is how we try to love one another, but we are loving in the wrong experience, in the wrong illustration, in the wrong definition, when we should love each other as Christ has loved us. So what has love got to do with it in your marriage or your relationship? Nothing. Because some of us have never got to the love stage of being together yet. I've been married going on 15 years. I'm learning what love is. I am. I mean, I knew what lust was because my wife is beautiful. She was beautiful the first time I laid eyes on her. I didn't fall in love at first sight. I fell in lust at first sight because I thought, man, she is hot. She is H-O-T, hot. And I thought, man, if I could get her to date me, I'll be doing good. Stand with me this morning all over the house. 1 Corinthians chapter 13. We're going to read 13 verses together. I want to preach on that subject this morning. What has love got to do? So you can go to lunch and tell everybody you met today, we got the coolest preacher because he played Dolly Parton. I won't keep saying Whitney Houston. He played Dolly Parton, Tina Turner, and Meatloaf in church. But now let me ask you a question. How many of you have got a favorite love song? Now, listen, we're not going to judge you. How many of you got a favorite? I got a bunch. How about the Righteous Brothers? Unchained Melody. What now? Come on, help me now. Can I tell you my all-time favorite? Can I tell you? When a Man Loves a Woman. Y'all know who sang that? And it wasn't Michael Bolton. It wasn't Kenny G. It was Percy Slade. When a man loves a woman. Yeah, I love it. But I got to have that gap between my teeth to be able to do that. And so, anyway, you've all got your favorite love song, right? Well, now, stay with me. That one song, how many of you remember your first love? First time you thought you fell in love? How many of you remember? Come on, act like y'all ain't never been head over heels for somebody. Everybody raise your hand. Remember that first one? How many of you remember a song that can take you back to that moment in time and you see that person's face? I can. Y'all with me? Y'all act like y'all. Now listen, don't be so spiritual because your spouse is in here like you ain't never thought about it every time you hear it down at the Pizza Hut. Yeah. I can't help your favorite love song is Wanted, Dead or Alive by Bon Jovi. I can't help you a cowboy on a steel horse. I can't help you with that. If that's your image, you roll with it. But a song, what's amazing, now listen, what's amazing about music is music can transcend time and age and place and take a memory in your mind and vividly take you back to where you were that moment you heard that first song. We all have that one thing in our life. But when you hear the name Christ, it ought to as much vividly take you back to the first place you met Jesus. Your relationship cannot survive if your relationship with Christ is not right. That is the founding block that keeps all the rest of your things together. 1 Corinthians chapter 13, beginning in verse number 1. Though I speak with tongues of men and of angels and have not charity. By the way, charity in this passage is the equivalent of love. So I'm not changing the Bible. I'm just going to change the word charity for love for sake of what you're going to hear this morning. So, though I speak with the tongues of men and of angels and have not love, I am becoming as a sounding brass or a tinkling cymbal. And though I have the gift of prophecy and understand all mysteries and all knowledge, and though I have all faith so that I could remove mountains and have not love, I am nothing. And though I bestow all my goods to feed the poor, and though I give my body to be burned and have not love, it profit me nothing. Love suffereth long, and is kind. Love envieth not. Love boneth not itself, is not puffed up, doth not behave itself unseemly, seek not her own, is not easily provoked, thinketh no evil, rejoiceth not in iniquity, but rejoiceth in truth. Beareth all things, believeth all things, hopeth all things, endureth all things. Love never faileth. Preacher, you're not talking the Bible right. I told you I was changing it. So everybody who's watching, who says I'm using a different version, you didn't listen to the first part. But whether there be prophecies, they shall fail. Whether they be tongues, they shall cease. Whether there be knowledge, it shall vanish away. For we know in part, and we prophesy in part. But when that which is perfect is come, then that which is part shall be done away. When I was a child, I spake as a child. I understood as a child, I thought as a child. But when I became a man, I put away childish things. For now we see through a glass darkly, but then face to face. Now I know in part, but then shall I know even as also I am known. And abideth. And now abideth faith, hope, love. These three, but the greatest of these is love. Charity. Be seated this morning. I want to preach to you for a few moments, if the Lord would allow, on this subject of what's love. got to do with it. The Apostle Paul in the book of 1 Corinthians is writing this letter to the church at Corinth. And Brother Matt, they're a wealthy church, they're a worldly church, they're a fleshly church, and there are a lot of different relationships happening in this one place. But the problem here is that Paul identifies the absence of love among every individual. When you have an absence of love in your life, you have an absence of being fulfilled in your life. Now, I said earlier that love is a learned emotion. We learn to love others as we have seen others love in front of us. And some relationships, some men, some young men, some boys only understand what love is because they've heard dad yell and scream and hit and smack and bite and cuss and cry. That's the only reason they know what love is. But you take some young men who are raised in a different home where that dad put that mom on a pedestal and he took care of her and he loved her for good and for bad, for richer and for poor, for healthy and for sick. He loved her as she deserves to be loved. That young man understands what the description of love is, but you can't force either one to mimic what they see. Now, naturally, we mimic what we see when it comes to love, but love being a learned emotion means we can unlearn the bad terminology of love and learn what it is to love in Jesus Christ. We don't have to have the world's methodology when it comes to love. Love has nothing to do with what you're giving or receiving from your partner in your marriage or your relationship. Just because they give to you doesn't mean they love you. I said, just because they give to you doesn't mean they love you. Sometimes gifts are in an absence of love because one individual knows not how to love the other. Do you know what an expression of love is? It's time. It's understanding. It's accepting an individual as they are without the desire to change them to conform to what you think they should be. So in essence, what does love have to do with your relationship? Absolutely nothing. If you've never learned how to love, love has no effect in your relationship. Y'all with me? You've got to learn to love before you can share love. And the only way you're ever going to learn to love is to first be loved. And nobody will ever love you like Jesus loves you. See, our love, our definition of love, comes with, Brother Desi, strings attached to it. I will love you as long as you're doing for me. As long as you wash my clothes, I'll love you. As long as you cook my favorite meal, I'll love you. As long as you do X, Y, and Z, I will love you. But when you stop doing X, Y, and Z, then my love begins to rescind back from giving to you, and I begin to hold it back, and I begin to take it and not share it. See, then that's not love. That's the wrong kind of relationship. Y'all. That got a nursery full back there. Y'all hear? So here's what I understand, Brother Darren. When I look at the concept of love in the relationship, whether it be the beginning onsets of coming together as a couple, or whether it be the onset of marriage, or whether it be down the road years after being married, here's what happens. You can learn that love in your first part of being together, and it seems like the longer you're together, the less love there is. Anybody ever kind of heard that? How many have ever heard, y'all just look like y'all, I've lost y'all this morning. Have you ever heard the expression, I fell out of love? Yeah. Everybody ever heard that expression? How many of you actually believe that expression? You can't fall out of something you wasn't ever in to start with. You can't fall out of the car if you never got in the car. You can't fall out of the boat if you never got in the boat. Well, preacher, you don't know my circumstances. I don't. I don't know what may have changed your feelings towards somebody, but if you love somebody in the pure definition of love, you have to love them just as they are. So that means, Brother John, if I love them just as they are, I can never fall out of love with them because I've already accepted them just the way that they are. And it's a good thing that God doesn't fall out of love with us because we're mean, miserable, rotten little brats sometimes. But God never falls out of love with us, does He? Never do you call God or pray and God says, you know what, I'm out of love with you right now. If you'll do better, I'll love you more. Man, I'm glad God never says that. Yeah, you never said it to your kids. I hope not. Somebody, we were holding these baby dolls up here this morning, and somebody made the comment to me, that's what I needed, was another child. I was asked one time, years ago when we first had Callie, are you, and I wish I'd never made the statement because I proved myself wrong. They said, are you ever going to have any more kids? I said, no. They said, well, why not? I said, because I couldn't love another as much as I love her. And somebody said, that's the wrong idea. Because if you have another one, you're going to love them all the same. That's not true. I see how you treat some of y'all's kids. You got favorites. Now, paternally, we love them all the same. But how many times have you treated some different than the other? How many of you got more than one youngin? How many of you have ever treated one different than the other? I ain't raising my hand because I ain't got but one. I got 4 dogs. I treat them different between each other. Tank, we got Tank. He's the best dog ever. The other 3 mutts, I don't know where they belong on the spectrum. So I treat Tank better because I love him more. Are you with me this morning? Are you getting the concept of what love really is? Love, man-made love, is not something that will transcend every situation in your life. But Christ's love, agape love, will go through every situation that you're in. Brother Des, you come. There's these songs that we mention are all have their place in time, have their place in society. But I can tell you this morning that love can be a tricky river to navigate in life. A relationship can be a tricky road to travel on because it's full of blind curves. It's full of hairpin turns. It's full of double backs. It's full of stop signs. It's full of intersections and forks in the road. And love doesn't make it easy sometimes to choose which side of the road you need to be on because things happen in life. Issues come up in relationships. But you can't look at the issue. You got to look at the person behind the issue. And you got to decide whether or not that person's worthy to be loved. Well, preacher, what makes them worthy? Nothing. If you love in the fullness of love, you just love them just the way they are. Well, I didn't say you had to accept them. But you got to love them. If you can't jive together, don't stay together. Listen. I can tie 2 tomcats together and put them on a clothesline. They're going to be together, but they won't be a whole lot of unity together. Be like some married folk I know. I know it. I seen y'all when y'all come in sometimes. Y'all have fought all the way. And I can hear you outside my door, outside the window, by the way. Y'all have fought like 2 old dogs over a ham bone all the way up here. And then as soon as you come in the building, come here. Come here, Amber. I want my family to come here. This is what's going on. I know this, right? I've been in church my whole life. How you know? Because sometimes we're guilty. This is what happens. Man, we are fussing and a fighting and a clawing and a kicking and a punching and a screaming and them two's cussing. All the way up the road with one another. But God help, we get in the building, this is how we are. Oh, I love you, and I love you, and we're just the perfect family. Everything about us is great and wonderful. What you don't see is the fact that there are claws in his right hand dug into my kidney, pulling it out slowly through my ribs and through the meat in my body. What you don't see is the fangs in this one are like that of a serpent. Right? But that's the way we are. That's the way all of us are. Life being tricky enough, Brother John, when you add relationships, Brother David, on top of it, it gets even trickier. Right? Because when it's just you by yourself, you can kind of navigate the water a little bit. But when you start adding people to your raft, and they don't get where they need to be on the raft, what happens? Anybody ever rode a raft? Anybody ever get too many people on one side of the raft? How about a canoe? That's made by the devil. A canoe's made to flip you in the water. But if you don't get people seated just right, everything becomes unsteady. Well, you're fine by yourself. But then you add in a spouse. And then you add in some kids. And then you add in the in-laws. And then you add in the outlaws. Right? And now now you're on the Titanic. You started out on Tom Sawyer's raft. Now you're on the Titanic. And this thing's just billowing everywhere. And you can't control it. Why? Because you've got too many variables to your equation. And you're trying to fix everybody when the person who's broke the most is the fellow holding the rudder to the boat. So by yourself, it's easier to navigate. But when you add people and you add the relationships in, then it gets trickier. Then when you add in the L word, how many of you ever had the L word dropped on you and you wasn't ready? Ain't never been a man in here ready for the L word. Oh, well, we lie. We men are the first ones to say, I love you. Please, God, don't leave me. I love you. You know, because we just know we're not going to get any better. We know we're at the top of our game. When we found our wife, I was at the top of my game when I found my wife. I've been sliding down here for 15 years. I mean, I swole up. My hair fell out. My eyebrow grew together. I start making noises you ain't supposed to make after a certain age. I don't get this. And y'all do too. How do you know? I walk by some of y'all make all kind of noises. I said, honey, you don't look like you do the day he met you. Do you? Mm-mm. You're vintage. So you add in the relationship, and that's bad enough. Then people start dropping the L word on you, and you're not ready for it. Well, you're never going to be ready for it. You're not ready for that. The L bomb. You're sitting there at dinner one night. She reaches over and goes, I love you. I like you a lot. Wham! What you say to me? Am I telling it right? No. All right, so you add that in. So what happens is this equation gets out of control. We're adding these things in. It can be overwhelming. Did you know love can be under-rewarding in your life? Because you have this big expectation about relationships and man versus wife and how a marriage should be or a dating should be or how a couple should be. And you go with it with this headstrong attitude and you're disappointed when it doesn't turn out the way you thought it should turn out. And so because your love didn't fulfill you, it's unrewarding in your life. And now we want to kick it to the curb instead of trying to go back and figure out what we can do to make it rewarding instead of unrewarding. By the way, the love you had before you met Christ was unrewarding. The love you've had since you met Christ is what has been a reward in your life. So what's love got to do with it? It really has everything to do with it. Paul speaks of the emphasis in the absence of love in these verses. In the first 3 verses, there's an absence of love. As Paul begins to expound to the church at Corinth, he said, I have prophecy, I have gifts, I have abilities. He said, but without love, all of it profits me nothing. No matter who you are, how you are, or where you are, without love in your heart, without love in your life, you profit nothing. It's better to have loved and lost than to have never loved at all. How many of you ever heard that? I will always, and I will say this, and I will get in trouble for it, but it'll be all right. I will always love my wife. From here to heaven, she will always be my wife, and I will forever love her. But there are other people in my life that I love, have loved, will always love, because individuals hold certain places in our lives. And not one above the other. And I ain't talking about old girlfriends. I know what you women are thinking. I know exactly what y'all thinking. Yeah, he gonna get in trouble. He talking about his girlfriend. No. I never loved, I'll be honest, I only loved one woman in my life till I met my wife. That's my mom. Of course, and my mamaw. There was only 2 women I'd ever loved in my life till I met her. And I will always love those 2 ladies even on where my wife's at. But every person prior to my marriage that I dated, that I was in a relationship with, I never loved them. Oh, I used that word a lot, Brother Jimmy. And so did you. You with me? Because we use the word love to get out of someone what we want to get out of them. I said, We use the word love and the character of love and the embodiment of love, Brother Lindsay, to get from someone the one thing they have that we want. And so we may not really love them. We just trick them into believing we love them because we're Casanova. We say the right words at the right restaurant. with the right mood, with the right lighting. And we say, baby, I love you. We'll get that Barry White voice. That's who I should have had on there. And we say things, Brother Matt, like, you know I'll never love nobody like I love you. Don't act like, fellas, don't act like you ain't guilty. Can I tell you something? The devil has said the same thing to you over and over and over and over again. I don't love anybody like I love you. I'm careful who I look at when I say that, by the way. Some of y'all are looking at me like, who's he talking to? That's what the devil does. He walks up and whispers in your ear, you know I love you. But what's he ever done to prove anything in your life? What's he ever done to prove love? Jesus proved his love. Right? Jesus died to prove his love. Let me ask you a question. When's the last time you died? Oh, you didn't die. I hope you don't die. When's the last time you went through an extreme measure to prove love to somebody in your life? When's the last time, fellas, when's the last time you proved you loved your wife? Now, I don't mean buying her diamonds. They'll take them. I don't mean buying them cars and houses. Ladies, if your husband can do anything for you, what would it be? Would it be to buy you jewels? If that's it, say amen. Okay, we're off the hook. Would it be to take you out? Or would it be just to be with you? Would that be it? Okay, y'all, I'm trying to help you this morning. I'm trying to help you from the Bible. You're not letting me help you. All right, here's what it is. We got to distinguish this. Look, your relationship is lost without love. Your ability to function as a partner is lost without love. You cannot turn love on and off. It does not work that way. Love is not a light switch. And love is not something you have today and don't have tomorrow. Either you love or you don't. Well, preacher, you don't know my life. No, either you love or you don't. And if you don't love them, quit telling them you love them. Because you're luring them into a spider web that they'll never get out of, and both of you will suffer from the web of lies that's being weaved from the L word. If God didn't love you, he'd have never told you he loved you. But Jesus said he loved you before you ever knew him. The entire Bible is recorded about the subject of God's love for us. Do you know why God can love as he loves? Because he is love. You with me? Say amen. Not only do we see the absence of love, without love, you can achieve nothing. Without love for your fellow man, you'll never be a good neighbor. Without love as a parent, you'll never be a good parent. You really got to learn how to love to have kids. Because the older they get, the meaner they get. And the more they lie. And the more you say, don't put this in your bedroom, and they stuff stuff under their beds. Like, don't take your pizza plate in your bedroom and leave it. And when you're at her bedroom this morning and you're trying to get something out of her room, you stumble across plates with pizza on it. Makes it hard to love them. But we still love them. We love them when they sass us and they talk back. You know why? Because you used to sass and you used to talk back. Maybe for a minute, for a second. Maybe that's why you got fake teeth this morning. I don't know. But understand with me. Understand with me. We do this because we need to reciprocate the emotion of love. We can't be fulfilled without it. Whether it's from the spiritual sense, in the relationship or the marriage, we have to reciprocate the emotion of love, one with another. Paul identified the absence of it, but he also identified in verse 4 and 5 the attributes of what love is. How many of you have ever been to a wedding? Some of you have been in one. I was in one. Been to a bunch. I won't never be in another one. We stuck together. Yeah. We must, before we can even comprehend the attribute of love, we must distinguish between what is lust, what is love. Lust is accomplished by the eye. Right? Y'all with me? Preacher, it's getting lunchtime. I'm preaching right now. Lust is infatuation with another individual. Lust is that complete description of being infatuated by that person. Oh, honey, you like him because he got muscles on top of muscles on top of muscles. What you don't realize is when he gets a certain age, all his muscles topple down. You know, I go to this gym. I CrossFit 5 days a week. This week, they got muscles on top of muscles on top of muscles in there. Somebody said, "You got any muscles?" I said, "I do. They're in hibernation right now." I said, "Back in the day, I was a man." I said, "But today, I can't hardly get myself out of bed." But all that fades, right? Y'all with me? Y'all help me this morning, okay? The more you help, the faster I'm free. All your looks are going to fade. Believe it or not, you might wake up ugly one day. That's hard to believe. I know, right? I'm like, "Preacher, I'll never wake up ugly. Not as long as they got plastic." I mean, dollies look the same for the last 50 years. Here's what I'm saying. Lust, if it's on the level of infatuation, Brother Mike, will fade as we fade. Our interests that are attached to infatuation with that person will fade as the infatuation fades. Love is what lets you hold your spouse's hand in a hospital room when they've withered away to nothing and they're a shell of what they used to be. Love is what's by the bedside. Love is what holds the hand of that person when they lose all what they used to be. Ladies, love is when that man loses what a man he used to be. Fellas, love is loving her when she's not what she used to be. When sickness ravages the body. When time takes hold. Love is what keeps us together. Infatuation is what tears us apart. When we're infatuated with them, you know, when I married him, he used to look so good. He had tan. He had all of his hair in the right place. Now he's 40. He's got hair coming out of his ears and his nose. Where'd that come? I ain't 40, by the way, and I ain't talking about me. I'll never get to 40, ever. You feel me? Infatuation, lust. Those things are only based on the physical. Well, but love is based on the emotion of the relationship, the fullness and the oneness of it. And the only way you'll ever get that is yours with him has to be right. And then you can show that to them. Matter of fact, Ephesians 4 said, like, yes, husbands, love your wives, even as Christ also loved the church and gave himself for it. How come it wasn't enough for women to love them husbands? Y'all get that? Why is it the man? You know why? Because we're to be the initiators of love. Are you with me? As Christ was the initiator of love to us, so should men be the initiators of love toward their wives. You know why Christ initiated love toward us? He needed to protect us. He needed to help us when we struggled. Fellas, sometimes you just need to love her just the way that she is. It's hard. It's hard, especially if you talk about money. And you talk about laundry. Laundry will make you not love each other. Amen. All right, I'm almost done. I'm on my last point. Lust is infatuation of the physical, but it's a fleeting. Lust is scheming and deceiving. Lust will cause you to get from that person what you want and leave them empty. Love will never leave an individual empty. It will always leave them full. Love is pure, given over time. Love is pleasant. Love is understanding. And love is accepting. As a matter of fact, Paul put it this way. Love suffereth long. That means love puts up with you, bonehead. That means love puts up with you. Mouth. Yeah. Y'all, my wife ought to get like the Wife of the Year award. We went to Rock Outfitters the other night. Y'all don't even know what Rock Outfitters is. That's in South Mountain, North Carolina. You can't find it with a GPS or the FBI. And they're having this sale. All right, this is my last point. They were having this sale, right, up until 11 o'clock. That means they're going out of business. If you got to open up till 11 o'clock and sell your stuff, you're going out of business. I ain't saying that out loud because they'll probably sue me. But we get down there, and how many of you have been married and you ever fought over $1? I'm the man. I work. It's my house. my car, my chair. Ain't nothing in there belongs to you. It all belongs to her. So we go to this place, and we're getting along. We're having a good time. About 9 o'clock, I said, you want to get some ice cream? Ice cream turned into shopping. Shopping turned into money. Money turned into fighting. Turned into me yelling at somebody in the Wendy's drive-thru. So we get down there, and she finds something she wants, and I don't find the thing I want because I'm hard to shop for. We go in. She goes to pay, and she opens up her wallet, and she looks at me. I'm like, what? So she reluctantly gets the money out and pays for it. We get in the car. She said, you owe me $100. I said, what you talking about? I owe you $100. You know, back when you had the Jeep wash like 6 weeks ago and you didn't give me the money and I had to pay for it. She said, you owe me $100. I said, it was $80. How did 80 turn into 100? What, you got banking interest? You know what happened? We got in a fight. Preacher and Mrs. Preacher got in a disagreement over a $100 bill. We'll fight over a $100 bill. We don't see them much at our house. We scrap over them. And I am man in true fashion. Because y'all, some of y'all know me. I bet rest of people in here to hear this. They're going to watch it anyway. I said, you know what? I said, I worked 3 jobs for you. For you and that girl. And I said, y'all take all my money. I said, I don't got no money. I said, I spend all my money on y'all. And I said, I can't even get no R-E-S-P-E-C-T, find out what it means to me. I said, I can't get no respect from none of y'all. This is in the Wendy's drive-thru, by the way. And I said, you don't respect me? I said, you only want me for my money. You don't love me. And then here come the waterworks. I wash your dirty clothes. I clean your house. I take care of your kid. Now she's my kid. I take care of your kid. I do all this, and I'm underappreciated. I only work 1 job. I said, I know, I work 3. I said, get out. You walking home from Wendy's? She actually went to get out. I said, shut the door. I said, that's a figure of speech. You know what happened when we got home? Yeah, I gave her that money. I gave her that money right then. Here's what love is. We got home. We didn't talk to each other all the way home at Wendy's. I did a lot of talking. She didn't do none. We got in the house. By this time, Brother David, man, I've got tears running down my face. I'm upset. Not at her. I'm upset with me. I told her, I said, look, I said, you know I didn't mean that. I said, I'm sorry. I said, everything I got's yours. And I said, ain't none of it mine. I said, it's ours. I said, it's ours. And I told her, I said, I'm sorry for what I said. And you know, sometimes I got a big fat mouth, and I do. You know why we do that, fellas? We want to feel important. Important. But you know who's important? They are. They're the ones raising our families. They're the ones changing our babies' diapers. Amen. They're the ones that accepted us the way that we are. Love reciprocates that acceptance. No relationship's perfect. You're going to fight. You're going to fuss. You're going to argue. Paul said with the absence of love, the reason that happens is because you're not perfect. The attributes of love is patient, kind, long, all that, right? Then the very end of it, as we stand together this morning. Paul said this. He said there's an amplified edition of love. He said faith is great. He said faith being awesome, hope being wonderful. He said, but nothing is greater than love. Without love, there's no completion of faith. Without love, there's no completion of hope. We have to have it all together. Our heads are bowed, our eyes are closed. Maybe this morning God spoke to your heart. Maybe you don't have a good definition of what love is and you'd like to get it this morning. Maybe you'd like to take your wife. That